All right, welcome to the latest edition of the VERT Performance Lab podcast. For this episode, I have two coaches on with me. We have the head coach and the assistant coach for USF Volleyball, fellow Florida schools. For those of you who don't know, I'm located in Fort Lauderdale. And first, we have head coach Jolene Shepardson, and she is the 2024 AAC Coach of the Year. Congrats, by the way.
Thank you.
Led her team to their first conference championship since 2002, correct?
Yes, two, yeah.
Yeah, 02. There's something in common between that year and this year, but we'll talk about that a little later. 14-2 conference record, not too shabby. Made the tourney. All around amazing season before USF, which you took over in 2020. Always an easy year to take over a program. Coach Shepardson led San Jose State, Cal State, Bakersfield.
Yep.
And before all that, circling back to the little inference I made about 2002, you were a stud player at, drumroll, USF. So on the team the last time, but as a player when you won the conference championship. So that's pretty awesome being able to bring that back to your school. We'll talk about that a bit more. We also have with us Leandro Vissotto. He joined the staff in 2023, and you come from a bit of a different perspective here. Four-time world champion, make sure I get all this right, Olympic medalist with Brazil. You've played professionally in Brazil, Italy, and in Russia. Yeah, you're basically, I imagine, Jolene, part of why she wanted to bring you in is to bring just a different look at things, a different perspective. So yeah, thank you both so much for jumping on with me today.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
No, of course. I think it's pretty clear. Whenever I have coaches on here, I like to have people who are obviously very successful, who are unique. One of the many reasons I wanted to have the people running USF, Jolene and having Vissotto on here, is because you have such a, again, just unique coaching experiences together. Jolene, we've had some really in-depth conversations over the years. I've always appreciated so much yours and many coaches I work with, just openness and eagerness to look for anything and everything you can possibly do to get your athletes and your team that much better. And so we're going to talk a lot about how you guys work together as a team. And before we do that, I always have a question, and this one's for you, Jolene, just because you have so much experience coaching now. And I ask this question to most of the experienced coaches, is as simply as you can, because this can be a long or not so long answer, is how has your coaching changed or evolved over the years? I know it has. I know all good coaches never stop learning. So what are a couple things
We already have
over the years? Ooh, we have a guest visitor. Hey.
Crash right in the middle, right in the beginning.
Let's finish it.
Okay. I'm on an important video here. You can see.
Well, I'm done with the baby sex, so I wanna.
Can I help you get into another one?
Sure.
Okay. And then you got to stay out because we're doing an important meeting. Okay. Let me help you. Sorry about that.
It's all good. It feels like we're back in COVID again. Every coach. I had coaches all around the world met my kids.
No, it's when she have 5, so
Ooh.
it's not easy to manage a program and then 5 kids in a house. So it's a lot.
Crazy. Yeah, I just
Yeah.
have 2. You have how many?
I have 3
3.
kids, but my wife, she's great, man. She's the one. Without her, I would be dead.
I know the feeling, very much so. One of mine's not feeling well, so right now.
Yeah, a
both of them.
lot of kids. I don't know what's going on now, but so many kids they're sick. Some virus going on or something. Change season and every time like that.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. Down here, same thing. Everyone's sick right now.
How old are they?
7 and 11.
7.
The girl's 7, the boy's 11.
Okay.
Well, you met my son.
Yeah. She was with you at the
Little
the
Marquito.
sunshine.
So sorry. Take
All
two. I had a little bit caretaking the little one today at work.
Well, I didn't know you had 5.
Yeah.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll just start off and I'll talk. I'll just say the question again.
Yeah.
What's cool is this software just self-edits everything. It's really cool.
Yeah.
All right, so to kick it off, it's a question I ask any experienced coach that I speak with, because any experienced coach, especially any worth their salt who's been successful, there's always some evolution, several evolutions in most cases, because you never stop learning. So Jolene, for you, if you could summarize, because again, this could be something we talk a lot about, but what have been the main points of evolution and change as a coach for you, in part that have, helped lead to your success. But what are some of the things that you've noticed yourself that has changed in your kind of coaching philosophy?
Well, I liked how you said earlier just how talented like Vissotto are is and how unique our staff is, because one thing that I think has helped me in my career is like I always want to pursue excellence, and I'm humble enough to know like I don't know everything and I want to continue to learn because I want to be the best. And I know Vissotto and I have that in common, so I appreciate that, having somebody of his caliber in my program and to help me. But we speak a similar language and we want to be the best, and so that has helped me climb in my occupation like very quickly. And I really have learned a lot from you in our short time, like just getting to know each other over the years, more about the body. And like you said, like I want my athletes to maximize their athleticism, so I want to look at the details of why they're doing things and like how can we be better, how can we jump higher, maximize that in the games and be healthy and sustain and win in the short term but win in the long. That was one of the things we talked about doing this upcoming season. I want to be winning in the preseason to boost confidence, but I also want to be obviously winning at the end of the season. And so just constantly learning, I think, and growing and pushing the limit of like how can we be the best has really helped me through the years.
Mm-hmm.
And I could get into the details of like where I was as the beginning head coach, and former player, to now those details of like how maybe my practice plan has drastically changed based off, the vert and how we use it compared to like I would, jump 180 times like every practice, when I first became a head coach. So definitely have had some growth and learned a lot from you for sure, and I'm grateful for that because we had a successful year, and
Well,
I
I
know we will
greatly
continue.
appreciate that. And no, we'll definitely want to get into the details for sure. We'll do that a little further down because I think, one thing I've learned about volleyball is coaches are so willing to share things that are good for the sport. Healthy athletes later in the season, in general, while it can absolutely be a competitive advantage, we want healthy athletes for everyone at the end of the season. We want healthy athletes because there's more opportunity than ever to keep playing this sport professionally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for that. And Leandro, and you hear people, I know a lot of people call you Vissotto. Leandro,
Vissotto, Vissotto. In the
we got a
volleyball
nephew,
world, people know
Leandro.
more
So for
like
me, I kind of go to Leandro.
Vissotto. Yeah.
Talk a little bit about how you, or what you've been able to take from your pro experience. And again, obviously playing in the men's game professionally. And then what have you been able to take from there? Because obviously there are some differences, but what have you been able to take from there to now help Jolene and USF's program with your volleyball team?
Yeah, I spent 28 years playing, so it's a long, long time inside the court. I started play professional with 17 years old in a complete different area of volleyball. Back then in Brazil, we have no idea what's the jump counting, anything about load control. It was just about go, 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 hard, be tough. You have a pain, have to go through the pain. So how 80 kids, they're pretty tough. We talk about with Jolene, how we got tougher because the environment pushed us to be in that way. The evolution of the game, the evolution of the training is unbelievable. When I started professional with 17 years old, also when I started from 12 years old, to these days now, that made a huge impact how my longevity in the sports because I could play from 17 to 40 years old. In the beginning of my career, I have like multiple injuries. I have
Mm-hmm.
like knee surgery. I have like stress factors. I have like tear in my shoulders. From my 17 to my 23 was a nightmare in injuries until I went to play in Italy. So in Brazil, we didn't have much about the load or how to manage the players. It was more like I joke like diving, the strongest survive, and it was hard in the beginning adapt for all these changes, but at the same time it helped me to understand my body
Mm-hmm.
and make my own adjustments in base how I feel and my connect my body with my mind, and this helped me so much to to play so long the game and learn from everywhere. I played 6 years in Italy. I played 2 years in Japan. I play in Russia. I play in Korea. I play in Qatar. So all these different coaches, all these different cultures, all these different volleyball style, I think helped me so much to understand also and adapt to different systems that was easy for me to come to the women's side of the game at college level that I'm learning so much with Jolene. She's doing this more than 20 years, almost the amount of time that I was playing professional. So I think it was a good bond. I mean, I brought a lot of different views, different ideas from the professional world for how we do the things in the highest level, national teams, Olympic teams, and all that, and how we can transfer that at college level and it's still like they're not have the place doesn't have the same ability of the professionals, but how I can maximize them technically and physically. And I think you,
It's becoming almost like a professional sport at the college level, right? We all know this.
yeah, that's the point now. We are more close to the professional than ever, not just because of the money, but also how we training, how the speed of the game, how the volleyball is played.
So I do have one question just popped in my head now, and I don't know if it's gonna have a clear answer, but would you say of the stops you made, was there a certain country you felt you took the most from, as far as
Definitely.
something you can coach?
Definitely Italy. Definitely
Italy.
Italy. Italy, yeah. Italy for me, they have the best coaches in the world.
What's fascinating because they're I work with more teams in Italy and Poland. Those are the two
Uh-huh.
countries we work with the most
Mhm.
It's not a
overseas.
coincidence because I think people there they are pretty aware about the load, about the physical training, and also very deep on the technical and tactical side of the game. That's something in Brazil people is way behind on the tactical side of the game, how we use the numbers to maximize. I think US try to combine. Some moment I think here is too much like game like and not so much training like we do in Brazil is too much training. So every country have the strength of how they work, and with this strength come the weakness.
Yeah, I've
But
noticed it.
overall, Italy for me is the number one.
Yeah, Italy's fantastic. So now we're going to go back to something, Jolene, that you'd mentioned before, and this is a. It's always my favorite conversation to have. This is when I think this is the first time I met Leandro on a video call. It was preseason when you'd mentioned like, all right, you really knew you had a freaking fantastic team. You wanted to maximize them physically. Talk through, and this is straight up for coaches. Talk through the strategic battle in your mind of adjusting specifically preseason camp with that limited runway you have before you start and play. Just if you
Right.
could just walk me through that, what's going on in your head.
Right. I mean, even in the spring, coaches are always planning ahead, and we know our schedule going into the non-conference. We know what we want to do in conference, and so we want to maximize every minute to maximize their athleticism and really make our training block and cater towards what we're going to see. If we're going to have to play 3 matches in a row, for that non-conference sequence, which we actually saw even in our conference season as well, like our conference tournament, we have to play 3 matches back to back. So I want to look at all these details and I want to train for it. So I came to you and I was like, I want to be good because we're building a program here, right? So like we were gradually getting better, but we knew we had that program, a great team going into the season, but they still had never won a conference championship.
Mm-hmm.
They still had never played some of these non-conference opponents, high of a level that we were about to face. And so we also want to build up their minds and their confidence, okay? And get them to buy into what we're doing, why we're challenging ourselves at that high level, and what we're looking down for the road. So if we go into preseason, unprepared physically, mentally, emotionally, like it won't go well either. So I kind of took this to you, and our trainer Rachel was like, hey, how do we set them up for success so that we can be pretty dang good in the preseason and be good in the end, right? Sustain that. And at first I think you're like, well, that short training block, you didn't think that was a reality. And I was like, most coaches, we're pretty stubborn. We're like, no. I need this to happen. I need to be good, or we need to be good in the non-conference, that preseason tough schedule, just physically, how do I do it? Right? This is all us coaches. We're all like, we have this vision.
Yeah.
We're like, you've got to make it happen. And so just leading up to that preseason block, I think we had 2.5 weeks,
It sounds about right.
like 10 days, something like this, right? I don't know, maybe more.
We got that 5 extra days. Shout out
Yes,
Jamie Gordon, ABCA, for those 5 extra days. Hey, those are huge. That
they are. They are.
helps a ton,
They are.
because I know that, because I have had that kind of conversation before, and naturally, as you can attest, I'm always gonna be on the more conservative side, because I know what we're trying to do is balance that skill development with the physical load development. And I remember very clearly, I remember that conversation so well, because I was giving some examples, and I remember you're like, I totally understand that, David. Those programs, their non-conference schedule just doesn't matter. Mine does, though. So I need to have my cake and eat it too.
Right. Exactly. Most
like,
of us coaches want, we want our
all right.
cake and eat it too, right? And so you help me lay out the plan, and just hand it off to our athletes. So you got to have some buy-in, because we can't manage them over the summer. And thankfully we had older upperclassmen, a couple experienced, a lot of returners. So it was what would look like a seamless progression, where they understood, because we talked about it in the spring, like, hey, we need you guys to do this jump progression to train your body, but it was put in their hands. And thankfully, they came into preseason in shape, listening to those jumps, paying attention to their body, to what I know. And I think it worked out for us, because we were able to go into our preseason training block, and I only did 1 practice a day, which is a risk, right? Because I came from an era of 3 practices a day,
5 a days,
and it dropped down to 2 when I became a head coach. But now I just felt like, hey, I need them to be good for 2 hours a day, right? For 5 sets. And so we just took that model and what you were teaching me, and what I felt like me and my staff thought would be productive. And we did, other stuff, video and team bonding stuff off the court. But then we went after your system, and we would train for 4 days, day off, because that's how it was going to look in season, the same system. So that was another unique risk I don't think a lot of coaches are doing, besides the 1 practice in preseason, but also 4 days, take a day off, 4 days, take a day off. So it worked out for us.
And so when you're creating a practice plan now, again, a lot of coaches look at that as a limitation more so than a strategy. How, and you don't have to go into too much detail, but how much did that just change then how you planned each practice?
Everything. And Rachel did a good job of communicating to us. We converse, and she always would give us the reports about everything right after practice. And so when I talk to my staff and we strategize, it would always, how we implement the next day would be based on numbers and impact, and what we're doing. If we're doing more low impact the majority of practice, because we're trying to meet this whether it's 60 to 80, or if it's 80 to 100, or 100 to 160, there was always a window that we were looking at. And then Rachel was also good about communication even during. So we look at that information before, during, and after.
Well, and it has to be, it's a living, breathing concept now, right? Because it's always really interesting to me when I'll speak to a program that I don't necessarily I don't work with, I don't have data on them, and they say, so what should my high day be on, what should my day be on Wednesdays for my middles? And I always tell them, I have no idea. What have you been doing? What were the games like the previous weekend? When's your next game? These are all things. Are we game day -4 out, -3, -2, -1? Where are we? And Leandro, to kind of add to that, because I can talk through it, because I remember looking at your data. I would check your data from time to time with Rachel, your athletic trainer. And I remember just be like, oh, this is looking great. I'm not even looking at your record. I'm just looking at the data. I'm like, wow, this is looking really great. But what did you do from a periodization standpoint, like, did you circle times during the season you wanted to peak more than others? Did you have certain enemies on the on the schedule, or how did you put that all together? And anyone can answer, but yeah, go ahead.
I mean, we tried to peak at the tournament because the last season was the tournament. A year before was the who won the conference, get the bid for the NCAA. So we supposed to be pretty good at every game. But now we have another season that we're gonna have the tournament. So we are planning with our physical trainer, with the training coach. Also, we need to peak at the end. We need to peak at the end of the season, you know. So the work and the load, not just what we do during the practice, but also how we work in the weight room, is gonna have a huge impact how where we gonna peak. So for sure, the load management, the intensity, the jump countings, it's part of the work combined with the physical trainer because if we go high intensity, high jump, we have to manage the load at the weight room and the opposite, right? If they need to go high and strong in the weight room, we have to manage in the court. So it's always a battle to find the right balance, but I believe we are making the right choices, the wrong ones. But as a coaches, we always the results always are testing you, always
Yep.
testing you, your playing. But I think we did it pretty well, pretty good job last season. But I still believe that can be better. So we're still talking about it, how we're gonna maximize our results in the end of the season.
Yeah, I got a feeling both of you are gonna always feel like it could be better, right?
Exactly. That's why I like him. No, right? I'm sure a lot of coaches are that way, but it's a good thing. It keeps us driving and gets us excited, and but the thing is we genuinely want to be good. We don't it's not about being right. I think it's about being good and how
Mm-hmm.
I do come maybe at you and it was like, okay, well, this is the expectation of the sport or our season or right. Like you and I talked about when to take the day off, right? Because we got a 7-day week, but like we play Friday, Sunday. Well, where do I think you thought our Wednesday kind of flex day off was unique. I like tossed around, well, maybe it should be Tuesday. Maybe, we thought about that. I was like, well, going on the road, we want to take Monday off. I remember you and I talking about that mid-season. So we just got to keep learning because we are driven to want to be excellent and really dive deep into that. And that's one thing I thought was great with you is, I think as an athlete, I didn't know the details about like tendons and stuff and like blood flow and how it's not so much like just days off or recovering the muscle, like getting enough nutritional value deep into the muscle or water hydration. Like the tendons actually cannot withstand like that constant jump and landing, right? It's like, I don't know, maybe I just didn't know enough, but I really thought that was helpful for me, to help my athletes. Like, I don't know, that was a turning point for me with
And
you.
I love that because and that's not unique. Overwhelming majority of coaches, and I'll be honest, even some folks in the sports performance, we get I don't know the right terms, hung up. But when we look at something like developing physical capacity, we think so much about cardiovascular and musculature. And whenever we think of tendons just like, okay, that's something we don't want to injure, like tendinopathy, those kind of things. And so, yeah, when I look, in fact, very specifically, when I was looking with Rachel at the periodization, at the growth, I was specifically looking at it from a tendon capacity building standpoint. And that's what you did such a great job because tendons develop capacity at a much slower rate than muscles. And volleyball is such a unique sport. I mean, every sport says that, but they say volleyball and basketball jump sports. I'm like, man, basketball's not a jumping sport. It's a sport where you jump.
Mhm.
It's not a jumping sport. Volleyball's the jumping sport because in a basketball game, you only jump 30 to 40 times, and 5 of those are above 80% of your max. And you'll have a middle that's jumped 160 times in a 5-set match, and 130 of those are above 80% of their max. So, yeah, and that's hearing those things too from coaches is always very nurturing in that, even with load management, right? There's a balance between data overload and what is it that I can use, right? So, you always try to find little nuggets of things you can use. And I'm sure this season we'll probably dive into other things that we weren't even looking at last season to see if it can get us even, that much more. And then the other thing I want to make a point on when you're talking about, like when Leandro's like, yeah, but I know there's things we can even improve on still. Well, it's not as though you find a periodization pattern that worked for 2024 doesn't guarantee it's going to work for 2025. Different athletes, different things happening. I've seen chaos in our political climate change data. Like it's crazy how things impact athletes, and just the more we keep doing it, the more we learn, the more we can individualize it. So I think that's great. And then actually, that leads into kind of the next question I have, quite frankly, and this one definitely for you, Jolene. We're seeing, I don't know if you've noticed, but quite a few changes in the sport. Transfer portal, all those things. We'll get into that in a second. But we're noticing, to be frank, I'm seeing some younger coaches or coaches not with a ton of experience getting some head coaching jobs. And some of them I'm working with, and it's great. They're asking a million questions. I'm never the person to ask if you should run like a 5-1 or 6-2. That's not me. But the load stuff, sure. But what would you say is critical for them to know starting out? Like, what's the, I guess, word of advice you'd have to a new head coach based on the things you've learned when they're creating their essentially their practice plans?
You don't know everything, because I think a lot of people come in because you want to have confidence. You want, a lot of people like that rise quickly, right? I wouldn't say I was, I believed in myself early, and you don't know everything, to ask more questions and listen more, because, when we listen and we pay attention, you actually learn more and are aware of more things. So like I said, just with you, even like I've learned a tremendous amount, from Vissotto, and, we're both former players, different backgrounds, but even having that experience, I didn't know, the stuff I've learned from you that would have helped me. Maybe Vissotto, I don't know if you feel that way, but it would have helped me in my career too. It's like trusting yourself, but like listening to others, right? It's that healthy balance. So I would just encourage every young, yes, you got to believe in what you do, because you got to instill confidence, in young women or men, whoever they coach. You want to show that you believe in yourself, because we want them to have that out there, but also, humble yourself to listen to others, because you don't know everything. And it doesn't matter whether it's a student athlete, a young person, or new young coach, like we can all learn from each other. So that would be my number one advice to everyone out there. I'm still trying to learn the details of the full body and mind, like how we mesh it together. And we were talking about that as a staff today, like just how like their emotions, there's a lot of physiological things going on in a young woman, like, different, their menstrual cycle plays a toll in their biomechanics, and also their emotions, and just a lot of things play into it, right? And us as coaches, we're trying to get them to be their best. So we have to look at all the little details. Yeah.
And so now the kind of second part of that question, and Jolene, you'll probably handle most of this just given your experience. And then Leandro, I'm curious to get your perspective as well, is, how have you tackled transfer portal, NIL? Like, I've had coaches who are positive about it. I've had coaches I won't name that are literally just texting me, just like, you won't believe that, so, so some ways I'm curious, because it's a different world. It's changed a lot. So Jolene, if you can kick that off really quickly, just in a nutshell, how do you view that? How do you navigate that?
It's nice to have Vissotto, because he's been in the professional world actually at a much higher level than I played. So, and very often, many more years. His perspective has helped ground me a little bit, because I've been in this sport long enough, and like you said, so much has changed. Mm-hmm. And just kind of seeing it from both sides is actually very helpful in the transition, because I'm a builder, and I've taken athletes, I've known them from their sophomore year, because we used to be able to commit people their sophomore year in high school, all the way through their senior year. Like, so you're so connected with these student athletes, and there is like a progression and building that relationship, right? That's like the era that I come from. And there's still some benefits there and like how to deal with that, but also being able to take an athlete, a grad student, and be able to like implement them in our program right away. So like I think, like we talked about earlier, I want to be good, so I'm gonna try to win the game we're in. Like I don't care. I am really. I just love to win. I am a competitive person, so we're all competitors here. So we're just trying to be really good at what we're doing now. And so I'm not a hater of the portal. I think if people aren't feeling like they're in the place they want to be in, it's okay to take that risk. I think it's part of the relationship. Like if they don't want to be here, we fully, sorry, daughter.
Go potty.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Okay. All right. Yeah, and you can just, I think where you left off, we were talking about the portal, and in the end, while you love, if I can provide a synopsis, while you love to build, obviously, a culture from the ground up,
Yes.
the portal certainly, okay, so theoretically, it could have a negative impact there if people are leaving, but at the same time, it gives you opportunities, potentially more opportunities to, as you said it, Coach, win. Because there's athletes are unhappy, they can move, and yeah, I guess it's up to each individual coach and each individual. Well, it's not even up to each individual coach and each individual program to keep them. I think now there are athletes leaving who couldn't previously, who really should have. They just
I mean, the bottom line is we got to try to win, go after the best players in the country, and understand that there's going to be maybe a brand new team in a year, because I think like people like Vissotto and I, we want to win. We understand the game. We're able to adapt to our new environment here. I think we're the type of people that are going to survive. I think if I were stuck in my ways of building, and I still like try to build up these young women, mentor them. Like I still treat them the same. Like I'm still building a culture. We're still keeping them healthy mentally, physically, like emotionally. Like there's no difference in the way we treat them. It's just a matter of like, we're not heartbroken if things change within a year, because honestly, I learned that, I think, as a younger coach too, not to ride the emotional roller coaster of recruiting. Now it's the emotional roller coaster of like, I'm going to invest everything in you because I want to win this year. I'm going to ask the same of you. And it's okay. It's okay if we're not together next year, like it's not, we're not offended by that. I think, I don't want to put words in Vissotto's mouth, but I think as a staff, we're going to give our best to them. We're going to ask the best from them, and then see how it goes the following year, because it's just, we feel like that's the game now.
Vissotto, you take it very personally if someone leaves.
And it wasn't my fault, but my dad was trying to protect me. And at the end of the day, like I say, okay, you can find another club. I think with all the things that all the sports they are fighting for the money, for the recognition of the work they are doing for the NCAA, for the university, the image, all that, and the how revenue the sports are bringing to the universities. I think it's fair for the students to get paid, but with this payment come the responsibility to give the results. Because I think the biggest problem is that they just want, but then we ask from them, also, "Oh, that's too hard, that's too much." So in professional world, does exist. You are paid for do your job. You have to do your best. You have to be on time. You have to train hard every single day. You have to respect your coaches. You have to come on time. You have to wear the right socks, the right t-shirts, very disciplined. If you don't, boom, we have a fee, we have a pay, we have to do. So, and we have a motivation of growing in the sense that I may be here playing for South Florida, and I have a major season in Midtown, Texas. You offer me a huge money, and you earn that. You have to go. I can hold you. At the same time, I have some kid in Texas that she's not playing. If she want to get better, if she want to grow, we should come to USF, and here he play and have a good time and grow and now get money. So all this dynamic for me, it's part of the professional world that I try to win, with the best players and build the best groups, the best team chemistry. Because in the end of the day, when you have the best players, everyone have money. So it's the coach jobs and the work on the daily basis, how you build the right culture, you're gonna make the difference, not just the money.
Hmm.
So also give the flexibility for the coach. Say you're not doing your job, you're not like doing the things the right way. I think you're not a best fit for the program now. I think that was my entire life for 23 years.
Yeah, nothing new to
It's
you.
not personal. It's not personal. It's a part of the professional world of the sport. You know, if you're playing NFL or NBA, you see the players they get to trade in the middle of the season, and it is what it is. You have no
Mhm.
choice. You have to keep doing your best. Doesn't matter what's going on. So what I learned from a professional is, doesn't matter what's going on. You have to step in and play
Yeah, so for
100%.
for you, there's not that much change or adaptation, right? It's like so where you came from. So switching a little bit from the portal now, I like two last questions really I want to go over is we do have quite a few parents and club level athletes that follow VERT, and they're not necessarily following us for the hardcore sports science stuff, the fun stuff. It's more the fun side, the jumping high and all that jazz. But for those people, aside from the, work hard, stay in school, what are one or two things that are maybe a little more unique that you look for when you're recruiting an athlete, right? Yes, we want them to touch 10 too, whatever. It's like, but what is it,
Higher.
I guess, advice you give to a, what was that?
I said higher than that. No.
My libero touches 10 too.
It's not enough. 10-2 is not enough
But I
anymore.
know those are the old days. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Wild.
It's amazing how high they're.
No, it really is. It's really insane. But what are some things though? What would you say to a parent who's like asking you, like, what do I do to get my daughter recruited? Like, what are a couple words of advice, Jolene, that you could provide? Just things that they might not be thinking of that they should.
Well, they definitely do pay attention to all the rule changing. It's a time where the high school athlete is not being looked at the same way because there's more experienced women playing, and we are looking at those women to play for us because they're more physically fit. They know the demands of Division One. So don't be personally offended if you're not recruited because that their pool just went smaller. But we do still have two incoming freshmen. We are seeking out some 2027s to call on June 15th. So it's still out there. It's even more competitive, I would say, to get those spots. And because we're growing and we're advancing quickly here, we've risen to the top, and now we want to go beyond that, start getting NCAA tournament wins. We're looking at the well-rounded athlete, but also, someone that's willing to come in and be an impact player, not that needs that development, right? So that's so different, I think, with even just 2 years ago where I was looking at athletes I could develop. Now our program's in a different place, but like the game as a whole, right? Division I athletics is different. So if they can do anything to train their mind to be under pressure, to show execution out there at a high level, I think that's going to attract coaches. Is like, this young lady can handle pressure. She's like resilient. She's a game changer. She's going to take risks. Like, because those are like brave, bold things that maybe upper class and more experienced people can do. Because if you're trying to develop mentally and physically, like as a freshman, I think you're going to get overlooked quickly. Like, it's just, but if you can be that game change, like show and high, like think of Catherine Plummer, like that kid made a million errors. Like, obviously she's 6'6". Maybe that's not a good example, but I watched her in her club days. She was like going for it. High air, became, All-American, national champion. It's like, we're looking for those game changer type of like attitudes and like resilient, just because they got to come in and like win, against women. Who's going to do that except those brave young women, those brave, tough, I don't know. So that's kind of my my thoughts. What do you think?
No, I agree with Joe, but also you have to understand where you are. You can you can expect to be recruited for your expectations, your parents' expectations, but you need to be crystal clear where you are as a player. Is the first thing. The second, understand your physicality and your level technical. In the sense that if you have like 6'6" kid, like she gave example, she'll be recruited anyway. She can jump, hit hard, she have a tons of school behind her because when she training, she get stronger, she will be good. But if you're not 6'6", you are small outside, we have to do other things great. I'm talking about like you have to be excellent passers. All the team they need a great passers. So you don't need to be the first one that hitting the ball, but you can be the first one that put the perfect pass for the setters. Play in back row in a great, or be a great server, or be amazing blocker if you're right side, but you don't hit so much because in club volleyball, this most of the time you just set for for the lefties, and you
Yep.
see the right sides, not just playing the other skills. If you're libero, for sure, defense, it's amazing, but what's make great liberos if your ability to pass, because the more you're in system, more your team can play fast. Like it's the modern volleyball, we play fast, we play with the middle, that's physical middles. So if you're middle, if you're physical, great. If you don't, you have to have angles. So every person have to find what they can do better with the limit of the physicality and
Mhm.
technical and develop it technically because volleyball is a technical game. And then the physicality will help you to execute in the highest level. And the other thing is, okay, maybe I can be in a top D1, maybe I can go for a mid-major as a freshman, good freshman, and I can play really good and show my value. And then you can go to the portal and make a big step for P4 and a big time school and make money. So when I talk about professional side, people have to understand that it's better playing in a mid-major or even a JUCO, in a good JUCO,
Mhm.
and then show your value, they sit on the bench in a big time school. Just clap for the others. That's what people need to start to understand now, the dynamic, because you just recruit to who you see playing. You just go after people in the portal that you know what the person can help your program. So it's better be in the lower level team that people can see you playing, performing at a high level, even that level, so you can have a better chance to step over, to keep stepping up. So I think a lot of things changing the dynamic, and
Yeah, and
we're
what I'm
still
hearing
learning.
too, what I'm hearing, if I may, what I'm hearing is and that was unique to me. And correct me if make sure I heard this right, but Jolene, you're also saying then that not that it wasn't important before, but being physically, to simplify it, physically fit and being advanced in that sense is maybe more important now than it was even a few years ago.
Yeah, I think so. Being mindful of that, make sure you have the proper training. Sometimes people take that to people that are not experienced, that are teaching young women the wrong techniques. You got to be careful with who you train with.
Mm-hmm.
But to stand out, for sure, I know Vissotto touched on that. Like, you can be the fastest, the most explosive. Like, those are attributes going to definitely stand out. But I think the personality behind it is like, you asked me, like, what somebody like we would recruit is, maybe I see a young lady maximizing what she has. Like, she's 5'10", but she is like, she's got great vision and she just ends up destroying people with her block because it's just her determination and her work ethic, so like that rises to the top, and like maybe that's a no-brainer, but I'm taking it like they take risk because we want people to be brave when they come here and to put themselves out there, and most like incoming freshmen like think they have time to develop and think they like maybe they think too highly of themselves and they're not going to put forth the work. So somebody that's just relentless, with their aggression or relentless with their pursuit to score points, or like they're super savvy. So those are things that would stand out. And on the physical part, you are seeing a lot of injuries. So taking care of themselves because they're on sport court and in the dealing with these impact, and they're playing one sport, which is a whole nother conversation. Like, I was a
That it is.
3-sport athlete. Like, so they're getting these chronic injuries because they're one dimensional, right? And like, that's going to hurt their bodies. And the parents don't always realize that. They're like, oh, I just want to go let my daughter play a million tournaments on sport court every weekend, and she's going to get a D1 scholarship. No. And she's going to destroy her body. So that's a very long conversation. I don't know if you want to get into it.
That'll be another podcast episode. The sport court on concrete issue.
It's terrible.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it's all very good advice, and hopefully that helps someone in the future. So the last question, and this is the epitome of a softball question for you, but I do this with every program, is 1, max 2 points of pride you have with USF volleyball. Jolene, go.
Our staff is incredible. I think the people you have around you make it. I'm from the top down. Like, our leadership here is incredible, and when you work with good people, it's easy to come to work every day. So our staff is lights out, like the highlight. And I would say us knowing how to build culture, like, we truly care about the young women, and like, knowing how to deal with your information, we implement it because we care about their body, short-term, long-term execution on the court. So that holistic approach of like, and we invest into them, like, the young ladies know that, like, they feel that, and that creates the culture, like, because that's different. I think it's with this transactional thing, as you see a lot of coaches not invest in the holistic person, right? And their body, their minds, to develop them as young women. I would say our culture and our staff. Those are my two.
Powerful and succinct.
I agree with Jolene 100%. When I first the opportunity that USF gave me to step in coaching right after I stopped playing was this trust without like showing how I could be a good coach, if I could be or not, and trusting me. That was amazing, and I'm so grateful. And it's the same that how we see the players that we have to be the best they can be, and respect them as a player, as a student, and as a human being. So we are very crystal clear and our expectations if someone's preaching or not. So we are very open in everything we do. We take care of them physically, the body. We are worried about like if their health, they can like be if they're happy, if they're like doing good in the schools. I think it's a really good environment to work, to be in. Great city, great place, great school, and I'm so proud to be part of the small part of the huge USF.
Well, that's fantastic. And so to summarize, I always like to talk about a few of the main points. And for me, these sort of happen organically as we converse here and we talk about a number of different topics. What I hear most from both of you is really surrounding that concept of just taking opportunities as they are, and whether that be taking opportunities to learn and adjust to your training loads so we're stronger later on, just like you were saying, taking opportunity of the transfer portal and not looking at it as some coaches are just, they don't like it. Other coaches, it doesn't matter what it is, it's what is the opportunity it presents. And the same thing you mentioned and recommended for young athletes who are looking to get, spots on a Division 1, 2, or 3 team. Doesn't really matter, but it's about the opportunity you have to make yourself stronger physically, make yourself stronger mentally, and the opportunity to take risks. So that's going to be our theme for this one.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think that works.
That's good.
Yeah. So thank you both so much for taking this time and sharing with me and sharing for the people who will watch this forever, right? That's the way this data is, right? It's going to be in the ether. But again, thank you so much. And I'm excited.
Thank you.
I'm excited to, in a few months, get back on our preseason meetings and plan for.
Yeah, we got some talking to do. We definitely need to plan. Because we have some newer players. So we got to get them just to buy in a little bit more, a little bit different but we have Brazil in there too. Like, we're coming in the summer earlier where we actually have them. So it does look a little bit different. So I'd love to talk about that more. What does that look like? But thank you so much for having us. This is awesome. Thank you for asking us. We're happy to help anytime. We appreciate your help making us great. So we're happy to help you anytime. And yeah, hopefully a little inside scoop helps others.
Heck yeah. No, thank you so much. We'll get a team call set up too. We'd love to chat with the kids.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.